look at the person next to you. The moment they picked up their phone or placed it down on a cafe table, something happened in your brain. A tiny, automatic judgment. You made a calculation about who they are, what they earn, where they stand in the social order. We look at a piece of glass and immediately extract a wealth bracket. Now, go back to 2006, 1 year before the iPhone. The best-selling device on Earth was the Nokia 1110. It cost about 1,500 rupees. It made calls, it sent texts, and it had a flashlight. You could drop it from a 3-story building and it would survive. Nobody looked at your Nokia and thought anything about your income. It was a tool, like a spoon. Nobody judges you for your spoon. The intense financial anxiety and social hierarchy we attach to devices today did not evolve naturally. Someone had to manufacture it, and they almost failed. By 1996, Apple was exactly 90 days away from running out of cash, 90 days from permanent closure. Imagine a reality where one board decision goes differently. Steve Jobs never returns in 1997 to save the company he founded. Apple quietly shutters its doors forever. The iMac never launches, the iPod never exists, iTunes is never built. But the biggest casualty happens on January 9th, 2007. There is no stage in San Francisco, no famous keynote. Steve Jobs does not stand in front of a crowd, holding up a single piece of glass, telling the world that a phone is now an identity. Without that specific presentation, nobody has a reason to rethink mobile communication. We stay happily stuck in the era of basic tools. We tend to remember the iPhone as a brilliant innovation. To every other company manufacturing phones in 2007, it was an immediate, terrifying threat to their survival. Up until that exact moment, the market was asleep. Manufacturers were entirely focused on thick plastic bodies and physical keyboards. Google was quietly developing Android to run on those specific keyboards. When they saw Apple's presentation, they panicked. They threw their work away and entirely rebuilt Android to prioritize touchscreens. Samsung experienced the same panic. They looked at their lineup of budget plastic devices, realized they were obsolete overnight, and desperately rebuilt their entire manufacturing process to chase Apple's new standard of glass and aluminum. If Apple isn't there to act as the industry bully, nobody runs. Nobody innovates at that breakneck speed. The aggressive push into the modern touchscreen era simply evaporates. This panic created a massive secondary arms race. Everyone was suddenly competing to build the best possible camera that could fit inside a pocket. By 2010, the lenses in these phones became so powerful that people wanted to share their photos instantly. That hardware jump caused a startup called Instagram to launch. Without the iPhone camera race, Instagram never gets off the ground. The entire profession of being an influencer, which currently employs millions of people globally and generates upwards of $15 billion, is erased. But the most intense ripple effect happened in India. The tech race produced devices so expensive that they evolved into a potent, real-world social credential. You see it at Rishta meetings, where the phone sitting on the coffee table is noticed before the conversation even starts. You see it at job interviews and in college canteens. It created a psychology so powerful that buyers now routinely sign up for 24-month EMI financing plans. People regularly spend more on a phone than they do on a month's rent, simply because the phone is visible to the public and the rent is not. Before 2007, Indians aspired to houses, to luxury cars, and to solid gold. Apple successfully invented a new category of class aspiration that costs 150,000 rupees and fits in your pocket. Now look back at the alternate timeline where Apple died in 1996. It is quiet. There is no EMI culture around phones. The social anxiety of having the wrong colored text bubble does not exist. Everyone carries a functional Android phone that costs 8,000 rupees. It does everything they need. Nobody is impressed by it, and nobody is judged for it. But there is a catch. Without Apple aggressively forcing everyone else to panic, the cheap phones in this alternate reality are actually terrible. The 8,000 rupee phone you buy today has a camera that outperforms professional lakh rupee equipment from 2005. That extreme quality only trickled down to budget devices because everyone was desperately chasing Apple. In a world without the iPhone, you save your money and your peace of mind, but you also lose the cutthroat innovation cycle, leaving the entire industry to settle into a state of comfortable mediocrity. But there is one thing that survives. When Steve Jobs was fired by Apple's board back in 1985, he took his exile to start a small, unknown animation studio. Long before the 1997 bankruptcy crisis that might have killed Apple, Jobs was already firmly established as the CEO of Pixar Animation. So even if Apple dies and the iPhone is entirely erased from history, the Pixar universe still takes off. The original Toy Story still happens, and the world still gets Finding Nemo. The man who engineered our modern social anxieties was also the man who gave us a fish trying to find his son. And in every possible timeline, Nemo always makes it back home.